You folks have been watching the Kansas City-Baltimore game with KC knocking off the Birds 7-5. That's strike 2 to Dale Murphy, and the count 1-2. You picked a good time to join us. Dale Murphy battling Dwight Gooden with a runner at second. 1 out in the first inning.
Gooden has not been able to get his curveball over yet. Now, he's in a good spot to try it again to Murphy here, but his fastball has been the pitch he's been getting the strikes with so far.
1-2 the count to Dale Murphy. Gooden trying to win his 14th. Fastball blew him away. You bet the heat is on, and it was on Dale Murphy.
He just rears back and he lets it fly. Look at that follow through, and look how much he put into it, and he just threw it right by him. They're out there having a meeting right now, and it's a case of who do you rather pitch to? Would you rather, as we look at Murphy, would you rather pitch to Horner or to Harper?
You know, they talk about a picture worth 1,000 words. You see the look of bemusement on Dale Murphy's face. That was a classic, as if to say, well, what am I going to do? Look at that.
Well, they say he doesn't get too high when he's going good or too low when he's not going good. So that shows it right there. He did the best he could, and he struck out.
That was Glenn Hubbard on his left and Brad Kaminsky on his right. Here's Bob Horner, and he has been a threat. Horner, you remember, suffered the broken wrist, and he was off to a very slow start. He had just one of those 16 home runs in the first 28 games, but he has really come back. He has hit 15 since. So evidently, Bob's wrist is solid. For the first time since the 9th of June, he'll be playing third base today. Oh, and 1 to Horner. You think they'd be changing signals with a runner at second?
I would tend to doubt it. I would think that they were just talking about where to spot the ball. I wouldn't think I'd want to give a young fellow to think about even somebody stealing signs. Let him concentrate on the hitter.
Well, Washington, a good look down the barrel from second base. A high fastball. Horner tried to hold up and couldn't do it.
I think he was halfway looking for a breaking ball the way he was laying back, and all of a sudden he said, "Oops, it's not going to be. I'll try to get away with it," and he took one of those American Legion swings.
The Mets have been giving the Braves a very bad time. They've beaten them 8 out of 10. In fact, they have beat up on the West. 0-2 to Bob Horner. Little foul off to the right and well out of play. With Gooden having won 7 straight, the Mets are 13-3 in July. And of course the ball club had a very hot stretch. Remember, they won 12 out of 13. The Braves had won 4 straight before the All-Star break, all 4 against Philadelphia. 0-2 the count to Bob Horner with Terry Harper on deck. Breaking ball, and he missed again with it.
Baseball sure runs in cycles, Vin, as we took a look at Gooden with that gold chain around his neck. Remember when we were in that cycle where everybody had a gold chain on, had to remove it?
That's right.
Now,
I remember they made Don Drysdale take off a bracelet that he wore for arthritic purposes, and they made him take it off. 1-2. Fastball. See you later. And Dwight Gooden is here. He has struck out 2, and the Braves lead a man at second. Here's the New York Mets lineup with Mookie Wilson out for at least another month. Len Dykstra is in center field, Wally Backman at second base, and Keith Hernandez at first. Gary Carter in the cleanup spot, and of course with that bad knee, it's a question day to day just how long Carter can play. Darryl Strawberry, who was on the DL, is back and healthy in right field. Danny Heap is in left. Howard Johnson at third. Rafael Santana playing in all the games at short, and Dwight Gooden on the hill. Steve Bedrosian pitching to Len Dykstra, followed by Wally Backman and then Keith Hernandez. 0-1. Bedrosian's numbers: he is 5-7, no record with the Mets, 3-1 lifetime. Bedrosian is the only Brave starter with an ERA less than 3, 2.8. That's right.
You can pretty much say the same thing about Bedrosian we said about Gooden. Maybe not quite as fast, but he's a power pitcher. Good fastball, good slider, and throws a change of pace. No trick pitches.
And for years, primarily a relief pitcher, and he's had to learn to pace himself. He has not gone more than 7 innings in any game. And in his last 3, he has not survived 6. But as Eddie Haas says, I don't tell him anything. I just let him pitch. Little wrinkle high. Ball 3. 3-1.
Horner at third base is looking for Dykstra to hit that ball that way. He's in on the grass and guarding the line. There he is.
3-1. And he's walking. So Dykstra opens up with a base on balls. And as a base stealer, he has stolen 7 out of 8. So he ought to put a little heat on Bedrosian immediately.
And they've got a combination with Dykstra on at first and Backman, who hits a lot of ground balls, to play hit and run. It's one of the few combinations they have, although Davey Johnson does play hit and run with Santana and Johnson. He likes to play run and hit. Start the runner and give the batter an option. You want to hit it, fine. If you don't, let him, you take it and he'll steal it.
Backman is a switch hitter, but he hardly ever bats right-handed. Kelvin Chapman plays then, and there goes Dykstra. The pitch, a strike. The throw, not in time. He's 8 out of 9.
They will test Benedict behind the plate, and there's the run and hit where if you don't like it, take it, and he'll steal a base. And there's Dykstra as he's bearing down, and he's got the head down. One place to go, second base. He's not even worried about what the hitter's going to do.
Little guy is certainly making his contributions. He has reached either on a hit or walk 13 of his last 14 games. And as you can see, he's 8 out of 9 in stolen bases. Backman now trying to pick him up. He has a 10-game hitting streak, a career high. 0-1. A bunt back towards Bedrosian, and he bobbles and can't make the play.
Well, it was not a very good bunt. He was bunting for the base hit. It was one of those situations where you want to pick up a base with an out. He bunts it right back, but Rosian's got ideas of trying to get Dykstra at third, and he just forgets to pick up the ball. He lost his concentration thinking he was going to get Dykstra, and it cost him.
So Bedrosian in a bad way to go now, first and third, and the National League Player of the Week coming up. The week ending July 14th, that's Keith Hernandez. He's hit in 7 games during that stretch. 3 game-winning RBIs. That will go as a base hit.
Why?
Don't ask me.
Christmas has really come early. I'm for the hitters, but that is really a gift.
So first and third, and nobody out. And Bedrosian with Hernandez, Carter, and Strawberry. And, of course, he has to watch Backman. Backman has stolen a dozen. Hernandez hitting .278. 1-0. Keith, of course, has always had a good eye. He walks a great deal, and this year is no difference. He has already walked 52 times. He'll probably walk 100 again.
You saw him flash sign to Buddy Harrelson. I didn't get what you were telling me, Buddy, as he rubbed across. That simply means no. I don't know what you're doing.
By the way, they have changed the scoring. Ground foul out of play. So take the base hit away, as it should have been, and make it E1. Error charge to Bedrosian. And no sacrifice. 1 ball and 1 strike to Keith Hernandez.
In batting practice, Hernandez really exaggerated a closed stance, and for a reason.
1-1. Ball 2. What's the reason?
He sets himself up by the toes of his right foot, setting a particular way, and his left foot in relation to his right foot, which gets complicated. But the key is the numbers from the center field shot. His father has a dish. Watch when he turns. You'll see both numbers. Not completely, but you'll see the 1 as he turns right there.
All right. Okay, I saw the 7. What does that tell you?
Well, you'll see the 7, but as he gets ready to go into the hitting zone, you'll see the 1. And before that, his father back in California with the dish was not seeing him, which indicated he was opened up too far. And he told him on that day before the 19-inning game, and he hit for the cycle and has been hitting ever since.
3-2.
You see the 7 as you look at it, but as he starts to turn, you'll see a flicker of the 1.
In other words, if I'm his father sitting in San Francisco, if I see both numbers, he's hitting properly.
Right.
If I only see the 7, he's not hitting properly.
Right, and that's from looking at films of his MVP year.
All right, 3-2. Considering his knowledge of the strike zone, you think a Backman might be going now on this pitch. 3-2. Let's watch. He goes. Fouled and staggers Bruce Benedict, who can't hold on to it. Boy, that took a bite out of the catcher.
Well, one of the reasons it staggered him, he was moving forward because Backman was breaking. He's going into it. Now watch him get into the hitting area. Now you see the 7 right there.
Wow, his father's got good eyesight.
Oh, you can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, if you're looking for it.
It doesn't take much. It's just a slight move.
In other words, you don't really mean you see the whole number.
Oh,
You
no,
don't turn around that much.
no.
Just any portion of the 1.
Right, and that means you're seeing both numbers. And if you don't see the 1, he's too open.
All right, but watch Backman. He was going on the last pitch. And he goes again. Fastball is hit foul down the left field line, out of play. Keith has not hit Bedrosian well in the past. He only has 2 hits in his career against him. So 3-2 to Keith Hernandez.
I like the way he takes batting practice. He really bears down, Hernandez does. I mean, he doesn't ever try to hit the ball in the seats. Tries to hit the line drive, hit over the ball, keep the hands high, drive the ball.
3-2, the count to Keith Hernandez. You know what George Allen used to say about practice. There goes Backman. Strike 3. The throw way offline. Holding at third is Dykstra as Backman steals on a strikeout.
He chased the bad ball, no question about it, but it was also a very difficult ball for Benedict to handle. It was a breaking ball inside, and Hernandez ends up in the way because he swung. Now look where that ball is. It's off, and now Benedict's got to throw over Hernandez, and of course the throw is way off.
Well, George Allen used to say practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And it's certainly applicable. And here is Gary Carter. Carter, with his knee, the left knee, heavily bandaged, is also a brace. 11 home runs, 40 RBIs. Check those knees. Right knee. I only missed by 1. 1 ball and no strikes. There it is.
You know what that reminds me of? We used to have a coach in St. Louis University, Duke Duford, and Freddie Bragg broke his nose, and they told him, Coach, Freddie Bragg broke his nose. He said, which one?
2-0 the count to Gary. Runners at second and third, and 1 out. No score, first inning. Little dribbler up along first base, foul. Chambliss on it, but it doesn't count. 2-1. You know, looking at Gary Carter, a reminder that in that 19-inning game between Atlanta and the Mets with the 2 rain delays, it finished at 4 o'clock in the morning. Carter caught all 19 innings and recorded his first ever 5-hit game. That was the game where at 4 o'clock in the morning on July 5th, they had the fireworks show. 2-1. Ball 3. On deck is Darryl Strawberry. There's a long drink of water out of Los Angeles. Another splendid splinter. 3-1 pitch. Breaking ball. Hard slider got the outside corner. 3-2. So Bedrosian trying to fight his way out of a jam, complicated by his own error. If he at least gets Backman, it's a different inning. 3-2. Fastball, and he missed with it. So the bases are loaded. And timeout as Johnny Sain goes out to the mound to talk to Bedrosian, who's high in walks, 7 in one game. But the day he had the 7 walks, he was also very tough to hit. He only allowed 2 base hits. The batter will be Darryl Strawberry as the meeting takes place on the mound. Meanwhile, in the dugout, Eddie Haas sweating things out. And Jeff Dedman begins to throw in the bullpen. So the base is loaded. One away in the first inning. No score. Fastball hit foul. Out of play. 0-1. Strawberry hitting .230 with his 8 home runs and 21 RBIs. The thing for the Mets is to get all 4 of the big 4 in a game at the same time. That's been hard to do. In other words, to play Carter and Strawberry, Hernandez and Foster, their record is like 20-6 in games when they get all 4 in there. And look at that. One of the 3 jackpots. 1-1. Breaking ball, and he missed. 2-1.
You can't see it because he's wearing a glove, but on his right hand, Strawberry has like a plastic, I guess you'd call it a finger that he wears to take some of the impact.
Roller up along first, foul. Bill Robinson coaching at first for New York, Bud Harrelson at third.
He was picking out some bats as I was walking out of the clubhouse, and I just picked one up. It reminds me so much of the bat Stan Musial used. Very thin handle. And he said, I just don't, Strawberry was saying, I don't like thick handles. And I said, well, the way you're hitting, you use it thin.
You know, it would be a shock to find a thick handle bat these days.
It really would be.
Dykstra, Backman, and Carter on the lines with 1 out in the first inning, no score. The Mets a game and a half back of the Cardinals, who face Fernando Valenzuela tonight in Los Angeles. High drive into deep right center field. Back goes Washington. Grand slam home run. What a study in contrast. One grinning takes a bow and the other chews his gum. And it is 4-0 New York.
And it proves there's no defense against the base on balls. That's the first hit of the inning.
1-1. So 2 key plays, and the biggest one, the bunt, where Bedrosian had to play at either end and made neither. Change up, 1 and 2. So before the chairs are warm, Darryl Strawberry gives the Mets a 4-0 lead with 1 swing of the bat. Ain't it grand to be 23?
Oh, and hit like that.
Fastball missed, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And he knew he had touched it off because as he got to first base, Bill Robinson was already giving him the high five.
Darryl Strawberry is back after a month and a half on the DL. However, if you are a historian, how about this note? The last time Darryl Strawberry hit a first-inning grand slam, the Mets had to go 18 innings before they were able to beat the Pirates. So don't go wandering off. 3-2. Fastball popped up. Hubbard and Zuvella, and it'll be Paul Zuvella. That's the second out. So Steve Bedrosian buried under 4 in the first inning, trying to dig out against Howard Johnson. The switch hitter batting only .218.
And that gives Gooden the extra luxury of trying to find that curveball. He did not have it in the first inning, but with 4-run lead, you can start searching a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, the poor devil didn't have his curve, so only struck out 2.
So true. But you know, you just can't keep throwing that fastball.
Right. 0-1 the count to Howard Johnson. JoJo had 3 errors Thursday night and came right back and had a sparkling defensive game last night. 1 ball, 1 strike. 4-0 in favor of the Mets in the first inning on a grand slam home run by Darryl Strawberry. Change. Line to right. Coming up is Washington, and that's that. 4 runs, 1 hit, a big walk, and an even bigger error. And Strawberry goes back to his patch in right field. The Mets 4 and Atlanta nothing.
That bunt play. Backman tries to drag one, drop it, and Bedrosian thought he had to play a third. Took his eye off the ball. Everybody safe, error. And then the strikeout, a walk, and then Strawberry cashes it in.
For the second inning.
So we go to the second inning, and the question now, can Atlanta recover against perhaps the toughest pitcher in the game, Dwight Gooden? It'll be Terry Harper, Chris Chambliss, and Bruce Benedict. The odds are against the Braves better than 3-1 if the other team scores first, that they can come back. So Harper's going to have to try and lead the way, and he's been a solid hitter. In fact, he's hit .345 this month. Hernandez and Backman, Santana and Johnson on the infield behind Gooden. Gary Carter behind the plate. Heat, Dykstra, and Strawberry in the outfield. The Mets have been dominating the West all year. Fastball hit to right center, but Strawberry gliding over. 1 away. This series, the Mets and Atlanta, is the 16th series of the year for New York against a Western team. And you know they've only lost 2 of the previous series, and to the 2 top teams in the West, the Dodgers and the Padres. So they've been beaten up on him. One reason why New York hanging tough, 1.5 back of the Cardinals. Eddie Haas trying to see his ball club shake itself. And here's Chris Chambliss. Ball 1. To show you the plight of the Braves, remember that 19-inning game when Rick Hamp hit the electrifying home run, if anything's electrifying at 3 o'clock in the morning. It meant he had as many home runs as Chris Chambliss, as many home runs as Gerald Perry, and more home runs than Brad Kaminsky with 1. Chambliss with a home run and 13 RBIs. And he waited until the 7th of July before he hit one against Ron Darling. Well, he had over 220 at-bats before he finally hit one out, which is a long way to go for a big guy like Chambliss.
It is a long trip.
2-2. Naturally, if you have been around as long as Chris Chambliss and you have such a dramatic tail off, why people are writing you off. They're saying it's over. The parade is gone. Fouled off. Chris will be 37 the day after Christmas. And he's been hacking away in the big leagues since 1971.
And that last pitch wasn't good news for the Braves. That was a curveball, and he not only threw it in a good spot, he let up on it and used it as an off-speed pitch. Doubly effective.
2-2 to Chris Chambliss. High fly ball. He didn't get that much of it, but it's still moving to center field. To Dykstra back, still on the grass. 2 down.
Now at the plate, the Braves catcher.
And the batter will be Bruce Benedict against Dwight Gooden. Benedict missed a dozen games in June recovering from bruised ribs. At the same time that Rick Cerrone was out. Larry Owens was brought up from the minors to help out and has since been sent back. Fastball right down the pipe.
And that was the case when Owens going back, a case of what, bureaucracy or rules forcing him back, because he did a real job for these Braves. They just had to send somebody out.
Breaking ball missed 1-1. Yeah, in fact, Larry was instrumental in a couple of victories that we saw.
That's right.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Bruce Benedict. He's on the upswing. He's hitting .345 in July. Fastball popped in the air. Going out for it is Backman, and that's that. So the Braves go very quietly at the hands of Dwight Gooden, and at the end of an inning and a half, Mets 4, Braves nothing.
Old Spice deodorant is over 70% ethyl alcohol. This much. As the alcohol evaporates, so does some of your protection. Unlike Old Spice, Speed Stick deodorant has no alcohol. The wide stick gives you man-sized protection that won't evaporate. Speed Stick protection.
Here is the next year we all waited for last year. Go for it. You know, do you remember the man who came here with the professional signs? He used to carry them in like a big model's leather kit.
Yeah, sat behind a dugout.
When the Mets were really at their wildest, one night there was a game here, and we'll just say the Mets made a couple of errors in the same inning. They threw the ball all over the lot on a rundown play. This man reached in, pulled out a sign and held it up, and it had been prepared months in advance, I guess. It said on the sign, "We are not amused." One of the great signs I've ever seen in a ballpark. Fly ball by Rafael Santana right back at second base to Hubbard, so 1 pitch, 1 away.
Wasn't he the man that got upset when they won the pennant and he won the World Series ring, I think, or tickets?
Wanted a ring?
I think so, as part of the team, and they said no, so he said no more signs. I don't know. Weird story I heard.
Yeah. I don't believe he's here anymore. Well, here is Dwight Gooden, and you might very well notice that he's batting right-handed, and he's not doing very well about it. He has begged the Mets to let him switch. A bunt is a strike. However, the Mets say, look, son, you're 20 years old, you're full of beans and enthusiasm, but you're going to hit right-handed so that we can protect that right arm. Otherwise, the whole town goes underwater. So he's not hitting left-handed.
I've heard managers ask pitchers to do that, but there's one guy that had his arm exposed. You know who I'm thinking about was a franchise.
Yeah, and how? Hung out around our place.
That's right.
Line to right field, but Washington is there. So Dwight Gooden hits it hard, but right at Claudel Washington. And he'll stay hitting right-handed.
Did they ever try to switch Koufax?
You know what I was thinking about? No, to my knowledge, he just hit that way.
Dykstra.
Joaquin Andujar kind of switches occasionally.
Yeah.
But you never know when.
That's right. Yeah. He has no rhyme or reason.
What was it Herzog said? They pay him $1 million. They ought to pay me $1 million to manage it. Here's Wally with Len Dykstra with Wally Bachman on deck. Ball 1. Dykstra, little guy, no power really, and he sounded the death knell for Bedrosian, getting the walk leading off. Strike, 1-1. He's hitting 7 of his last 8. But the big thing that Davy Johnson likes is his ability to get on base one way or the other.
That's right. The leadoff guy gets on. He's the catalyst.
1-1. Fouled away. 1-2.
That's why that Stanky was so great. He'd get on and he'd irritate you getting on because you tried so hard to keep him off.
Yeah. What a pest. The ultimate pest. 1-2, and Steve Bedrosian, the bedrock, as they call him. 2-2.
You know what he used to really do to get you, though? Not only the base on balls. When he took the base on balls, you remember how he'd flick the bat back?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And if you started to move, that bat would catch him between your legs, and it sounded like Lionel Hampton.
Lined into center. There's nobody there. Murphy was overshaded. He has to come back and get it, but Bachman will hold on. Dykstra will hold on, and Bachman coming up. So Len Dykstra, with Murphy shading him a little to left center, almost hit it in the gap.
If we were sitting in the ballpark, I'd turn to you and say, bet your quarter they'll pitch out on this pitch. What would you say?
On the first pitch, huh?
Yeah.
I'm inclined to doubt it, only because Bedrosian has been struggling a little bit with his control. Let's see.
But you can bet that they're going to be running with 2 outs here. And you're just going to have to pick the right pitch. I'd say the first one.
Remember now, Bachman bunted in the first inning, and Bedrosian was all thumbs.
That usually tells you that there's no pitch out play on, because if you got it on, you want him to run. Just give me the ball in a hurry, you want the pitcher to do.
Whoop, almost threw it away. So with Dykstra at first, remember he stole second in the first inning. And Bachman at the plate. Keith Hernandez on deck. Bachman is a switch hitter. The Mets have 3 switch hitters with Mookie Wilson, Howard Johnson, and Wally Bachman. And that points up a fact that the Atlanta Braves are the only team in the major leagues who do not have a switch hitter on their active roster. wasn't going.
He about quick pitched him.
Okay.
No, he did. He threw over 3 times, and he caught Dykstra really in between hitches there. That was a good job by Bedrosian, I must say. He held the ball longer on the second time, and third time not quite as long, and then he came right away.
0-1. And that's hit into left field. Base hit. Tricky hop knocked down by Harper. That thing almost hit him in the nose. The runners at first and second. Wally Backman now has a hit in 11 straight games.
Hernandez.
Ball takes kind of a funny bounce, but Harper right in front of it hits him on the chest, keeps it in front because they weren't going to take any chances with Hernandez and Carter coming up, although 2 outs here.
So 3 hits off Bedrosian. Dykstra at second, Backman at first, and here's Keith Hernandez, who struck out on a bad ball, 3-2. He should have had a walk in the first inning. 0-1. Jeff Dedman throwing back of Steve Bedrosian, and he is up again. 1 ball, no strikes. Breaking ball hit foul. Slider in on the hands. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You could really see, I was paying particular attention. You could really see that one as he was getting into the hitting area as he turned. He was starting to make his turn to go into it.
One and one to Keith Hernandez. Len Dykstra at second. Wally Backman at first. The Mets leading 4-0 in the second inning. Right, grand slam home run in the first inning by Darryl Strawberry. Fastball, and he popped it up. Going out to get it is Paul Zavella. Coming in is Terry Harper, and it is Harper. Whoa. Terry Harper makes the play. The Mets lead 2. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Here's that last play, and it could have been disastrous. Zavella thinks he's got it, and now Harper comes in there. Waving people off really doesn't get the job done. You have to holler them off. Maybe grammatically that's not correct, but that's the way Leo would say it. Dummy, holler them off.
Well, Terry Harper safely in the dugout, as is Clint Hurdle, and Clint waving to his bride and young daughter, their firstborn, born just a few days ago, and that's the newest member of the Mets, Tom Paciorek, on the left. Meanwhile, into the third inning we go. Paul Zavella, ball 1. 4-0 Mets, top of the third inning. Fastball fouled away. 1-1. For whatever reason, Paul Zavella, at least statistically, is a much better hitter on the road. He's hitting over 300 on the road, under 200 at home. I don't know, maybe it's pressure, huh? Maybe.
I don't know. That big a drop.
Oh, that's a big one. 1 ball, 1 strike to Paul. Dwight Gooden heating up. He struck out 2 in the first inning.
That bat that he's using, Zavella, looks like one of those you used on a playground. It's all nicked up and scarred and brown and scabbed and everything else.
It looks like a rental job for sure. I'm sure of that. Hawk shop. 2-1 to Paul. You know, in looking at Gooden, you might have the thought about striking out the side in an inning. In case you did, he's done it 23 times in his career, and he struck out the side 6 times this year. And of course, with 2 strikes on Zavella, the crowd wants to see another K. Fastball missed.
And the outstanding young man that he is, I walked by him, he said, "Please say hello to my mom and my dad. They'll be watching in Tampa today." So there he is, Mom. He looks good, doesn't he?
3-2. Fouled away. He has 14 strikeouts at a major league high this year. He struck out 14 Giants the end of May. The American League strikeout 12 by Oil Can Boyd and Britt Burns. Remember the story about Boyd supposedly popping off, and they were telling Gooden about how Boyd said he's going to teach you how to throw in the All-Star game, and Gooden said, "Deal." Fastball grounded to short. Rafael Santana over to Hernandez. Talking about striking out the side, how about last year's All-Star game? Dwight Gooden on the hill for the National League, looking down the gun barrel of Lance Parrish. The Detroit Tiger catcher punched him out. The next hitter, Gooden took dead aim at Chet Lemon of Detroit. Got him swinging. And finally, to polish off his act, here is Alvin Davis at the plate. Adios. Gooden struck out the side. Meanwhile, foul ball off the bat of Steve Bedrosian, 0-1.
Don't you love the way Davy Johnson, the manager, talking about him? He says the franchise, just a matter of fact. Like it's his name.
One ball, one strike. His only other start against the Braves, perish the thought, was that 19-inning Mets victory, the tidy little 16-13 game in Atlanta on July 4th. He said that was the worst day in his professional career. A slow roller down to second base to Wally Backman to get him. Dwight was saying before the game there was a band in the bullpen and he couldn't warm up. Then he sat on the bench and there was a big rain puddle in front of him, and some fan threw a brick out of the ballpark. I don't know where the brick came from, and it splashed mud and water all over his uniform. Then he had to warm up a couple of times. He went 2 1/3 innings and he got out of there. The worst day in his young career. And of course, Davy Johnson was extremely concerned about Gooden. He just didn't want him to pitch after that second warm-up job, and I'm sure Mel Stottlemyre on the left-hand side didn't like it either. The batter is Claudell Washington, whose single stole second in the first inning. Curve in the dirt.
You figure if Gooden sneezes, who's going to get there first? Johnson, his mother, or Fred Wilpon, or Doubleday?
Somebody to protect him. 20-year-old Dwight Gooden. What a story. One ball, no strikes. Sound like a busted bat. A hesitation by Hernandez, but he gets him anyway.
It is broken.
Yep, busted bat, 3-1. And at the end of 2 1/2, 4-0 New York.
Play by Hernandez. Now, the swing was deceiving. Look at him start and stop. The broken bat really is what fooled Hernandez. It was a big swing. It wasn't hit quite as hard. Started, stopped, got there, and Gooden was there. That was a good play.
Oh, we press on now to the bottom of the third inning with Carter, Strawberry, and Heap, and it is 4-0 New York. Carter hit a grand slam earlier this year against Bruce Sutter in Atlanta. Shot foul outside of third.
I asked Gary Carter about his health, and here's what he had to say.
Well, Joe, I feel good about being back in the lineup again. The main thing is that there is definitely a tear in the cartilage, and I'm going to have to require surgery at one time or another, whether it's now or at the end of the season. But there was a cortisone shot applied on Monday, and the inflammation has gone down considerably. I played last night with a little bit of hesitation, but still it felt better today, and I'm going to try and give it a go throughout the rest of the season.
And when he says give it a go for the rest of the season, Davy Johnson said before the ball game, I don't even want to think of the rest of the season without him. 0-2. Breaking ball hit off the end of the stick, back of the mound, and it'll be Glenn Hubbard. So Carter pops it up, one away here in the third inning, and Darryl Strawberry with the grand slam home run approaches the plate as Carter goes back to the dugout.
Here's the swing, low inside, and he stays right with it. And right there, he knows it's gone, and so does Bedrosian.
It was such a loose, easy swing that actually one hand came off the bat about halfway through the swing. So supple, sinewy, and he hits a drive into left center field. Digging is Harper, and Murphy. It'll be Harper. So Strawberry goes deep the other way.
You can see what he means with this lineup because he makes what players call hard outs. He is a hard out.
Now left fielder.
So Darryl Strawberry flies deep to left, and Danny Heap coming up. Strawberry last year had 26 home runs and 97 runs batted in. 1-0. Ball 2. 2-0.
That All-Star game meant a lot to him, too, being with the rest of the big stars. He walked taller. He just knew he belonged, acted like it, and he did belong. He's going to be a big star.
2-0. And that's hit foul off to the left and out of play. 2-1 the count.
Sometimes I think we tend to overlook how young they are.
Yeah, especially as the years go by for us. That old gag, I've got ties older than some of these kids. Steve Bedrosian concentrating on Danny Heap and vice versa. Pretty good fastball, 2-2. I think the picture I'll remember in my mind for a long time was Danny Heap going back on Rick Camp's home run. And when the ball was going over the fence in the 18th inning, Heap grabbed his head as if he had a severe and unbelieving headache. That was some picture. That'll make a highlight film. Danny playing over George Foster. Of course, Foster has provided the consistent power throughout the years for the Mets. He leads the club in home runs with 14. Fouled away. George played last night, in case you're wondering. And at his stage, there's George now talking to Keith Hernandez. Foster does not come back and play a day game following a night game. 2-2. A shot to the hole, base hit into right field. Now, to follow your line of thinking, after I tell you that, you got to say, oh, yeah, well, how old is he? Well, he'll be, George Foster, will be 37 December 1st.
Johnson.
I'll let you interpret it from then on. 37. You don't play a day game following a night game. Do you ever play a day game following a night game?
I wanted to. A lot.
A lot. Here's Howard Johnson. 2 out, 1 on. Bottom of the 3rd inning. Mets 4. Braves nothing. For about 2 weeks now, Hojo's been hitting .320. That helps him get his average up, but not much. He has been a disappointment to himself as well as the Mets. And Walt Terrell having a good solid year for Detroit. 1-0. Of course, trades are not one-year things. Give them time. Four runs, 4 hits for New York. Darryl Strawberry, a first-inning grand slam. The Braves, no runs, 1 hit. Gooden has struck out 2. Fly ball into right field. Going back on it is Claudell Washington to the wall. It is gone.
Fastball right in his power.
Howard Johnson now has 3 home runs and 10 runs batted in his last 12 games. And it is curtain call time at the Mets. Up you go.
That's a whole new thing.
2-0.
There are 3 things that have really happened brand new. Curtain calls for hitting the 2-run homer, the wave, and don't play day games after night games.
Ground foul that makes Bill Robinson skip rope in the first base coaching box. 6-0 New York. As Steve Bedrosian has given up a grand slam to Strawberry and a 2-run home run to Howard Johnson.
And before this game's over, we have to talk about, like we did with the new statistic about the fly balls as opposed to ground ball outs and Pete Rose. That's a new statistic.
The computer. Breaking ball is rolled to short. Tricky hop, but Zavella stays with it to get him. The inning is over. 2 runs, 2 hits. And at the end of 3, the Mets 6 and the Braves nothing. Hubbard, Murphy, and Horner. We're going to the 4th inning here at Met Stadium, with the Mets 6 runs, 5 hits. Braves no runs, 1 hit and an error. And Dwight Gooden ready to go to work against Glenn Hubbard, Dale Murphy, and Bob Horner. Hubbard tried to bunt in the 1st inning and popped it in the air in foul ground, and Gooden came over and got it. Off speed and high, ball 1.
Talking about off speed, Gooden in the first 2 innings is averaging 94 miles an hour on his fastballs.
Fastball, and that's hit to left and pretty deep. Heath going back to the track, to the wall, leaps up in the air and came up empty. Home run for Glenn Hubbard. So Gooden throws a tater, as they call it, and it is 6-1 New York.
He really gave it a good effort. Looked like he might even make the play. He's got a beat on it. He really runs out of room. Once he finds that wall, you saw him look for it. He jumps, but he comes up with a handful of air.
For Glenn Hubbard is 4th. The little Glenn hits one out against Gooden. Murphy, meanwhile, chops one to shortstop, and Santana takes care of him. 1 away. That's an interesting note.
And approaching the plate.
Of course, one thing with his lead, it doesn't appear to me that he's throwing that hard right now.
And he's going to throw strikes. The thing he wants to stay away from is the base on balls.
You know, what a contrast between these two teams. Remember, we mentioned at the start, Steve Bedrosian is the only starting pitcher for Atlanta with an ERA of under 3. Going into this series, all 5 Mets starters had an ERA of under 3. And Gooden has as many complete games as the combined staff of the Braves and the Pirates. Ground ball to Santana. That will take care of Captain Horns. 2 down.
You know, that last shot, when you watch Gooden deliver, I mean, he looks at you. He starts with his eyes to the plate, but at 2 different times in his delivery, he looks away, and that could be just a little bit upsetting when you throw that hard.
You want to make sure, hey, I'm over here.
Exactly. You want to holler to him. Now watch him when he delivers that ball. Now, he looks when he starts and then takes his eye off the ball, which helps him but doesn't help the married guy in the batter's box.
Terry Harper at the plate. 6-1 New York. Ball 1. 1-0. Harper flied to right field in the 2nd inning. Harper has done well in his career against New York. Lifetime .345 against them. But New York is one thing. Gooden is another.
Man, I tell you, in batting practice, he had a tremendous shot out here over everything. Here's Gooden's eyes. There he is looking away right there. And now he picks you up right there.
You hope.
Oh, he does. You hope it's right. You pray.
2 balls, no strikes. 3-0 the count.
There are 2 schools of thought. Some people say keep your eye on the target, and then there's the other school that says you can't possibly keep your eye on the target 100% of the time.
3-0 in there. Terry Harper was originally signed as a pitcher 12 years ago, but he could hit better than he could pitch, so they made an outfielder out of him. 3-1. Fastball.
Okay, if I were a scout scouting Harper, I'd put down late bloomer. Wait for him, because he is going to be a pretty good hitter.
Close. Gooden, and you remember before the game, Joe, all the brouhaha about Keith Hernandez holding runners on with his left foot in foul ground. He's only held 1 man on. That was the leadoff man, Claudell Washington, who proceeded to steal second. There's a drive to center. Dykstra fading back, puts it away. So since Washington led off with a single, Gooden has not had anybody on base because Glenn Hubbard just came all the way around on a home run. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball, and I'm sure any letters asking to replay it will not be postmarked Georgia. 11-1 Mets in the fifth. Bruce Benedict popped up 0 for 1. The count, and that's still Gary Carter behind the plate with the Mets leading by 10. The Mets will make their record 14 out of 16. They will have won 9 of 11 from Atlanta. That's a strike. And what a July. They will have won 14 of the 17 games played this month. They're really alive and well after a miserable June. Good one. Ground ball to the right side. Backman is there. I mean, it's getting to be so. We'd like to see a runner at first just to look at Keith Hernandez.
Shortstop.
You know, I thought that Carter might be doing more getting down on one knee to take pressure off that right knee of his, which is so heavily taped, and he's got the special brace on. But I'll tell you, he's pretty much in his catching position. Now, last night he was down on one knee, but that getting up and down, it's a tough job when you got two good legs.
He was saying the knee bothers him particularly when he swings the bat and tries to turn on his right foot. So he's now, to compensate, going to open up a little bit at the plate.
In fact, it bothered him so much he was worried about the shoes. He has regular spikes on. He says those rubber cleats didn't do it.
Swing. Did he swing? No sign from Jerry Davis. So the count, ball 2. Dwight Gooden trying to make it 8 straight. Remember, the last Mets pitcher to win 8 straight was Tom Seaver back in 1975. In there, the same Tom Seaver who won victory number 298 last night.
Was it 1-0 too?
Yeah. 2-2. So again, Gooden has 2 strikes on a hitter, but he hadn't struck out anybody since Horner in the first inning. He has 2 strikeouts. Curveball is foul. Bobby Wine coaching at third. Hey, nice play down there. And Bobby Dews coaching at first. 11-1 Mets in the 5th inning. 2 out, bases empty. On the corner, foul tip and Hill. So it hit the bat. That's only the 3rd strikeout for Dwight Gooden. He's got a walk in the park as they hang another K. 11-1 New York.
My daughter calls it the Blue Bomber. My wife thinks I ought to get rid of it. And when it needed a new muffler, well, I was afraid she might be right.
Listen, I don't want to spend too much on this car.
Long way to go.
Is it bigger than the bread box?
Hey, did you give your uniform to Tom Paciorek? Yeah, what uniform number are you wearing now? 12. That's a hitter's number. You're trying to be a hitter. Okay. You also give us a little practice at reading lips. Meanwhile, talking about hitter, Dwight Gooden takes ball 1. Jeff Dedman pitching. Fisted one slowly, and it'll be the shortstop Zuvella. Gooden hustling down the line.
Sure, he wants that base hit. I don't blame him.
1 out in the bottom of the 5th inning with the Mets leading the Braves 11-1. And Len Dykstra will be coming up as Dwight slowly makes his way back to the dugout.
Lenny Dykstra.
Dykstra walked, singled, hit into a force play. The Mets have exploded for 4 home runs. A grand slam by Strawberry. Home run with a man aboard by Howard Johnson. home run with 2 aboard by Strawberry, who has 7 RBIs, and a home run with nobody on by Danny Heap. The Mets have really been an up-and-down ball club. They opened the season. They won 30 and lost 17. That gave them the lead in the National League East. Part 2, they turned around and really went in the tank. They lost 18 of the next 26, and they dropped to 4th place 5 games out. And they got their act together, won 12 out of 13, and right now they've won 13 out of 15. And here's one slapped to left, but Harper has to play it on a bounce, overruns it, and Dykstra will hold with a single to left.
Hey, he just has a bat out there. He flicks it like a baton. He just, Bongo went to the opposite field. Harper thought he had a chance for it. Look, he didn't get by him.
So Harper will able to recover. Dykstra will hold it first with the base hit. That's the first one off Dedman. And the batter is Wally Backman aboard on an error, single to left and fly to left. That's fouled away. One thing that will certainly make the Mets a factor, I believe, they're only a game and a half out right now. When they went 12-1, 11 of the 12 wins were picked up by the starting pitcher. Gooden, Darling, Fernandez, Lynch, and Aguilera picked up 11 wins, and over that stretch, the earned run average was under 2. So they have some strong pitching here, as well as the bats of Strawberry, etc. That's a strike. Jeff Dedman picking up the pieces. It's been Steve Bedrosian who allowed 6, and Lem Barker allowed 5, and now Dedman 0-2. Slow ground ball, backhanded, bobble by Chambliss, back to Dedman, got him. I tell you, that wasn't an easy play for Dedman because Chambliss fired.
Well, Chambliss tried to short hop it and backhand it. And that's always a tough play. Now watch him. Now he loses it here. Now he's got to put something on it. And Dedman was there and threw behind him. So once again, all that work in spring training paid off. The ball is behind Dedman. Watch him covering. He makes a good play. Just does get a piece of that bag.
Here's Keith Hernandez. Struck out, flied to left, single to right. Ball 1. So Hernandez 1 for 3. Ball 2, 2-0. In putting the Mets again under the microscope, another interesting thing about the New York Ball Club, they have won over 50 games. Won 51 prior to today, and they don't have a 50 RBI man. There's a shot in the corner, fair ball. And while Washington chases it, in comes Dykstra, stopping at second Hernandez, and this tidy little gem is 12-1 New York. It's the 3rd run scored by Dykstra.
Now batting, catcher Gary Herbert.
Look at those numbers. So Dykstra's been a very busy leadoff man. A walk and 2 singles, and he's come home 3 times. Another kid you're just starting to hear about in New York is Aguilera, the pitcher, and they are really high on him. High fly ball into left center. Murphy says that he has it, but he looks over at Harper and then stays with it. So the Mets add another. You talk about Coles to Newcastle. It's 12-1 New York. Here's another edition of Baseball Remembered. By 5. Kansas City, however, knocked off Baltimore 7-5. California defeated Boston 5-3, so they remain in front of Oakland and Kansas City. Meanwhile, Chicago, San Francisco, scoreless in the 5th inning. The Cubs find themselves 6.5 back of the Cardinals. San Diego trying to beat Pittsburgh again. They put a little heat on the Dodgers, who are a half a game in front, and San Diego leading Pittsburgh 2-1.
Now catching.
Behind the plate, Clint Hurdle. His wife Julie gave birth to their first child Thursday night, a girl with the lovely name of Ashley Lauren. 8 pounds, 9 ounces. Ashley Lauren Hurdle.
Pretty name.
Isn't that lovely? So our congratulations to Clint and Julie, and we go on into the 6th inning. It is 12-1 Mets. And Jeff Dedman starting it off. Back. Now Dedman, as you know, a right-hand pitcher. And he's sticking that right arm out there for Dwight Gooden.
He knows what to do with the bat, though.
You better. Fouled away.
How would you like to have a manager say to you, look, you're not going to hit anyhow, so why don't you turn around and at least if it hits you on the other arm?
Well, how about Tony La Russa? When Harold Baines and Jerry Walker were going to come up against a left-hander who was wild, and he wanted to protect them, so he sent up pitchers to hit instead. Well, add a K. It's only number 4. We can say only when you're talking about Gooden, to repeat his high for the year, 14 against San Francisco.
That was a curveball. He took something off it, and watch it catch that outside corner. It is. And Hurdle frames it.
So Gooden claims his 4th. He had back-to-back in the 1st. Then he got Zavella to end the 5th. And now his pitcher Dedman here in the 6th. It is 12-1 Mets. Dwight Gooden working on Claudell Washington. Comebacker. 2 down. In the 1982 draft, there were some pretty good names, kids who figured to make it big. The Cubs had Shawan Dunston. Toronto had Augie Schmidt. Padres had Jimmy Jones, Twins Brian Olkers, and the Mets drafted Dwight Gooden. And here it is 1985, and Gooden is the only one in the major leagues. Dunston came close, started the year, and of course Augie Schmidt is now with San Francisco. One ball, no strikes. 2 out in the 6th inning, 12-1 Mets. Hubbard accounted for the 1 with a home run. A chopper to short. Nice play by Raphael. At the end of 5.5, Dwight Gooden walking off, leading 12-1. And handling the comebacker off the bat of Claudell Washington. Lineup card that each manager has, not only your own lineup, this is Atlanta's card, then you have the Mets card, then you have the extra men. There's also a section down below for extra pitchers, and you just keep scratching off people who have gotten into the game. But Joe, do you know what those big numbers are?
No, I really don't. If I was here tomorrow, I would ask him about it, and I'll ask him the next time, and when we come back, I'll have that information.
Stay tuned. And film at 11. Darryl Strawberry, all he's done, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, but he's still looking for his first hit lifetime against Jeff Dedman. By the way, especially for those folks here in New York watching the game, Clint Hurdle took over behind the plate, and the Mets want to make sure you know that everything is fine with Gary Carter. Steve Garland notified us that it was just the score. Wisely take him out of there. 1-1 to Strawberry. There you go. He did that against the Dodgers. 2-2. With his 7 RBIs today, there you can see it, a career high, most in the big leagues this year. Slice to left field, and this looks like it'll be his first hit against Dedman. Yep, and it'll be for extra bases. Darrell with those long legs is going to go for 3. And the throw, he is in there.
Strawberry very deceptive as far as speed. Ball works its way right into the corner. Harper, of course, was in left center field. He gets it to Harner, but not even close.
What a day Strawberry is having. Harper did the best he could to run it down in the corner. With a runner at third and nobody out, down 12-1, Atlanta plays the infield in.
And the next question is why? Well, we don't want to make it 13-1. That's why.
1 ball and no strike. Boy, you are really in trouble. Danny Heath trying to pick him up. Right.
I've heard managers say in this particular spot, well, we can't stop him with the infield back. We might as well play the infield in.
1 ball and 1 strike. 1 and 2.
You know what that is? That's the prevent defense.
You could play the infield out.
Out of the park.
Well, out there. 12 runs, 14 hits for the Mets. 1 run, 2 hits for Atlanta. Breaking ball fouled away. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is KYW-TV3 in Philadelphia.
12-1 Mets, and Danny Heath with a chance to pick up another RBI. He's got Darrell Strawberry at third and nobody out. 2-2. Heath homered in the 4th inning, but now he's looking at Jeff Dedman. Bedrosian gave up 6 runs. Barker gave up 5 runs. And now here's Dedman. What was the worst game you ever played in? You remember? Do you remember something like, oh yeah, we lost 19-2 or anything like that? And you caught and you muttered to yourself all day long.
We had a lot of those in 52,
well, I mean,
but I can't
can you take a 1? Or maybe you just forget them. They're not much to think about.
They really aren't.
No. 2-2. Ball 3.
The one game I remember like that is the one we were talking about when Glaviano had the tough day in Ebbets Field. It was
9-0 Cardinals.
Oh,
and the Dodgers pulled it up 10-9.
You remember those because you were on the losing end after leading.
The Braves sitting in the dugout down 12-1 against a premier pitcher in the league, and that's hooking foul out of play. 3-2. So Danny Heath trying to get Strawberry home, and San Diego trying to polish off Pittsburgh 4-1. The Dodgers play the Cardinals tonight. That should be a good one at Dodger Stadium. Fernando Valenzuela and John Tudor. 3-2. High twisting foul out of play.
I tell you what I have done. I can't give you the particular game. In a game like this, hitters would come up and say, look, you guys are hitting everything. I'm going to see how far you can hit it. Hit this fastball. And I would tell them.
That's Doug Sisk. And would they believe you?
No.
Even after a while that they saw it was actually happening?
Well, you lied a couple times in there.
You know, Dwight Gooden might be coming out, maybe. They're leading 12-1. Sisk throwing in the pen. Ground ball hard to Chambliss. He looks Strawberry back and steps on the bag.
Well, we were both in Davy's office when he talked about their concern about the number of pitches, or innings rather, that he's been working. There was, what, 188? They were talking about 280 innings if the pace he's going.
And he pitched 218 last year. As Davy was saying, I babied him along a little bit last year, but he said now Frank Cashin was wondering, hey, maybe we got him working too much. And Davey said, no, I don't think so. But it'll interesting to see now as you see Mel Stottlemyre on the phone. They might just say that's enough, leading 12-1. Maybe.
the general manager told me if I was the manager that you shouldn't pitch him as much, I'd say, fine, put it in writing and we'll have it notarized.
Or give him the public address microphone, and when the crowd boos, he said, ladies and gentlemen, I am taking Dwight Gooden out because my general manager has informed me. Then you take some of the heat off the manager. 1-1. By the way, and going back to the Mets history book, Darryl Strawberry's 7 RBIs, the second most in Mets history. Dave Kingman drove in 8 against the Dodgers in 1976. Two balls and 1 strike. Davey's still talking, and we'll see about his decision. But he sure has Sisk getting ready down there. He played with a couple of great hitters, too, on that team, huh? He'll also go down, if you're a trivia buff, he was the last player to get a hit off Sandy Koufax. The answer, Davy Johnson. It's the red hair of Le Grand Orange, Rusty Staub. 2 balls, 1 strike. Ball 3. Howard Johnson with a 2-run home run and a single and 3 at-bats. He's trying to get an RBI. 12-1 Mets in the 6th. And he's walked. So Rafael Santana will be coming up. Santana is 0 for 3. He's the only kid on the outside of the candy store looking in. Everybody else has at least a hit, including Gooden. Santana has been pretty much of an Iron Man for the Mets. Iron Man in this day and age, anyway. He's only missed 2 games. And Rusty Staub is out on deck to bat for Gooden. So that's what they're going to do. With 1 out, if they get a shot, Staub will hit. Gooden will take the rest of the day off, and Doug Sisk will come in with an 11-run lead. 0-1.
And as far as Gooden, 6 innings, he made 68 pitches, 45 strikes, 23 balls.
And several of them very, very fast.
Rather swift.
And there's Doug Sisk getting ready to come in. 0-1 to count. Breaking ball hit underneath a leaping Johnson. Strawberry scores to make it 13-1 New York. And Santana is welcomed to the club with a base hit and a run batted in. And now Rusty Staub will be coming in.
One of those games when you hit a single, you think you're stopping the rally.
Or you throw it back like a fisherman, right?
Right. Too small.
Rusty needs 1 more pinch hit to tie Vic Davalillo and Larry Bittner for 10th place on the all-time pinch hitting list. He has 94 in that difficult task. Looking for 95. Ball 1. 1-0. I remember a New Yorker cartoon. It showed a team on the field, a terrible score like this one, and a huge bird, a pterodactyl or something, is flying away with the shortstop. And the announcer is saying, all in all, it's been quite an unusual day. We've got everything but the bird taking the shortstop away. 12-1 Mets here in the 6th. In the Mets bullpen, the unenviable task of warming up has been given to Gene Garber as Sisk continues to throw in the Mets pen. So Garber and Sisk will be the new pitchers. The rate this is going. There's Gene. So the bases are loaded, and it continues. And Len Dykstra coming up. Dykstra walked, stole a base. He has 2 singles. He has scored 3 times. Johnson, Santana, and Staub out on the lines. Ground ball to the hole, and it is speared by Hubbard, who throws to first in time. Boy, what a close play, because Dedman was juggling the ball. It was questionable whether he was in possession of it or not. But in this kind of a game, no argument. Johnson just brings the run in and goes to the water cooler.
Hubbard makes a good throw. Dedman coming on a dead run, and you can see that ball juggling. He loses it for a moment and then makes the catch again. You talk about possession, he never really was in good control, but as you said, in a game like this, hey.
The Mets lead 13-1. Hard ground ball, takes a big chop, and Chambliss able to get to it, and that ends it for Backman and the Mets. They add 1. It is 13-1 Mets at the end of 6. We'll be right back, maybe, after these messages from your local station. Taking over first base for Keith Hernandez. Doug Sisk is taking over on the mound for Dwight Gooden. So Sisk is asked to get some outs. It is 14-1 Mets. And we'll be going to the 7th inning. There it is. The Mets somehow failed to score in the 2nd inning. And that tells you most of it. Plus the fact they have hit 4 home runs. Darryl Strawberry has a grand slam, a 3-run home run, and a triple. There's also been a double by Keith Hernandez. It has been a runaway.
You look at that line score, you look at the changes. Don't you get the feeling we're playing this game in Dunedin in March?
Yeah, I agree completely. The Gooden takes it off. He worked a hard game on Sunday and won 1-0. And worked a breeze for 6 today, and we give the ball to Sisk.
The 7th inning for Atlanta.
Dale Murphy, Bob Horner, and Terry Harper. The closest the Braves have been in this game was in the 1st inning. Washington singled and stole second. Hubbard fouled out a bunt. But you had Murphy and Horner coming out. Murphy struck out and looked befuddled. Horner struck out and looked mad, and that was that. A shot, a great stop by Howard Johnson. Got him. Oh, what a fine play.
What a tremendous play. And good plays are contagious when you got that kind of a lead. Watch this dive that he makes.
Third baseman.
Really leaves his feet, knows he's got a chance to get Murphy, and a perfect throw. Watch him leave his feet. Look at that. What a play. What a play.
Made a big play similar to that last night, so he's really bouncing back. Last night he got a double play. 0-1 to Horner. I'll tell you what makes that remarkable, too. It is a laugher, 14-1. You would think Howard would be thinking about opening up an ice cream parlor.
Now, he's had a pretty good day with the bat. That makes a difference. He's ready to make the play.
And hit him. Horner hit on the left arm. And that hurt. And, of course, Horner, who has been a big power for Atlanta, especially in the last 50 games, hit just above the left elbow.
I could hear something. I don't know if it was Sisk hollering look out or Horner hollering ow, but you definitely heard something as the ball just tailed in. There'd be no throwing at anybody with a 13-run lead, trying to crowd him with it. And, of course, Eddie Haas worried about Horner, who's been having his problems.
Oh, Horner has been the unluckiest guy in town, and they're going to take him out anyway.
See it bore in. There's nothing he could do. Just take it.
Give you an idea, Bob Horner broke a bone in the right wrist in both August of '83 and May of '84. He's had hand or wrist injuries for over a year. Finally has come back.
Your attention, please. For Atlanta.
And is hit, although I don't think that was serious. I'm afraid not.
Number 12, Paul Runge.
So Paul Runge will run for Horner.
And batting for the Braves.
And the batter will be Terry Harper.
Terry Harper.
14 runs, 15 hits for the Mets. 1 run, a murmur of protest, a home run by Glenn Hubbard in the 4th inning. 4-1. Garber today. Flied to right, grounded to short, 0 for 2. Doug Sisk with an ERA of 6, trying to get well. And he has certainly a considerable margin for error, leading by 13. It figures that Dwight Gooden will go home 14-3. Will have his first decision victory against Atlanta. And will have won 8 straight. The Mets are where they are because of their ability to pound the National League Western team. Slow roller to short. Santana going to first. 2 out. The Mets are under 500 in their own division. Santana's really been busy at shortstop.
The more you see him, the more you like him. He gives you that nice gliding effect, comes up with the ball, and certainly has a tremendous arm, but he just makes the routine play and makes it look routine. Nothing really looks tough to him.
He's had 6 assists today, including getting the side in the 4th inning. So Runge is at second base with 2 out, and Chris Chambliss the batter. Strike. Chambliss twice hit fly balls to center. Each time against Gooden. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Mets scored in every inning but the second, and it should be remembered in the second inning, Gooden hit the ball hard but lined out, and then there were 2 base hits. Otherwise, they would have scored in every inning. On deck, the catcher, Bruce Benedict. Fastball slapped to left field, and that will fall for the base hit. Here comes Runge to score. That makes it 14-2 in favor of the Mets. And Bruce Benedict will be coming up.
The Braves catcher, Bruce Benedict.
Bruce Benedict today popped up and grounded out. He's 0 for 2. Getting a kick out of the scoreboard in right center field here at Shea. They were very late in acknowledging that the Mets scored 2 in the bottom of the 6th. They had 1 for the longest time, and now look, they grudgingly keep a 0 up in the 7th. And the inning isn't over, and the Braves have scored. I don't know whether they're playing little games out there or not. 0 be gone. It is 14-2 in favor of the Mets. Benedict 0 for 2. That's a strike. Ground ball to third. Short hop by Howard Johnson. Nice play to get him. So he came up with a couple of good ones in the 7th inning. And the Braves come up with a run. 14-2 New York. Another edition of the 7th inning stretch.
And if you're leading by 13 or so, you don't want to do anything to show up the other guy. Let the sleeping dog lie. And then on the other side, you're just going to keep bearing down and try to do something to at least help yourself, because it is a team game, but it is played by individuals.
What must be particularly difficult, people like Dedman and now Gene Garber coming into a ball game, they give you the ball and they say, okay, good luck, and you're down by 12. It's pretty hard to be too enthusiastic.
Well, except that you say to yourself, at the end of the year, they're not going to look at how I helped the team. They're going to judge the team, but they're going to choose me when it comes contract time. So that little thing called being a little bit selfish is always a factor.
Well, Gene Garber trying to make the most of this appearance. And he has been pitching very well. In other words, we can understand Dedman coming in because he had been in a little bit of a slump. Barker, of course, has been very rusty coming off the DL. But the opponents have not scored against Garber since the middle of June. And Tom Paciorek at the plate. Paciorek inherited Ron Darling's number, 44. 2.5 years with the Braves. Tommy spent originally in the Dodger organization, and of course he came here from the Chicago White Sox. Tom Paciorek, 38 years old. He went 1 for 3 last night. One and one. Paciorek has one of the great smiles. If you wanted somebody to go on a poster with a smile, he was it. He's really blessed with a beauty. He's not smiling now. 1 and 2. The years have been pretty kind to him, but he is very gray. Only 38.
So what's wrong with Gray?
That's what got him to gray hair, trying to hit that curveball. Talking about memories here at Shea, let's go back to the League Championship Series. Do you remember?
Mets catcher
Joe Morgan hit a ground ball. There was a play at second, and Rose went in, upended Harrelson, and look out, the battle was on. Harrelson now quietly standing in the third base coaching box. Rose took his legs out from under him, and that was the beginning. What a day that was. In order to placate the fans. There's a drive by Hurdle, away back to right center. It's for Ashley Lauren. Home run. New York, and here's Darryl Strawberry. He has 2 home runs, including a grand slam, a home run with 2 on, and a triple. He has scored 3 and knocked in 7. Ground ball. Hubbard takes care of him. Those are the figures. That's why he means so much to this ball club. What a difference, huh?
left fielder Danny Heep.
So the big kid is back on the block, and Danny Heep coming out. Heep singled, homered, grounded out, and popped up. 2 for 4. Again, you have to dip into the history books because the Mets have hit 5 home runs today, and the last time they hit 5, the names have long since gone over the horizon. Tommy Agee hit 2. Don Clendenin, Cleon Jones, and Ron Swoboda against Montreal in May 1970. So Strawberry has been able to write this year's group. Boy, that's a long time, 15 years.
Swoboda does sports in Phoenix. I wonder if he'll use that note when he talks about these 5 home runs.
He should. Foul ball. And the last time they did it was when I was on the team.
And I was on the team, and I hit this tremendous shot.
I'll never
at
forget it.
LaGuardia Airport, and I'll never forget it.
I'll never
927 feet.
15 runs, 16 hits for the Mets. 2 runs, 3 hits, and an error for the Braves. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. High fly ball to right. Claudell Washington with the shades drawn. Mercifully, the last out in the 7th. 1 run, 1 hit. And the Mets take the field, leading 15-2. Ball 1 to Paul Zuvella as we go into the 8th inning. 15-2 Mets. Zuvella will be followed by a hitter. There's a ground ball to third to Howard Johnson to get him. 1 away. I'd like to remind you, Friday night, NBC presents special primetime baseball. Some viewers will see the Cubs against the Dodgers. Others will get the Astros and the Mets at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Saturday, coverage continues. The Cardinals face the Padres. Others will see the Cubs battle the Dodgers at 3 p.m. Eastern. The tradition here, the memories awaiting right here on NBC Sports. Milt Thompson hitting .310. Takes ball 1. Thompson just recently called up. There are a lot of people who felt he should have been here all year. Big chopper over the head of Johnson. Tried to short hop it, did Santana, and he kicked it into foul ground, but Thompson will hold it first with 1 out.
That ground in front of home plate didn't appear to be that hard during batting practice, but it really takes one of those kangaroo hops. Santana just tried to short hop it, and once he didn't come up with it, he really hustled over there. No place for Thompson to go because Santana's arm would gun him down, and you can't take any chances trailing by as much as the Braves are.
No, 15-2. You have to be careful going back to the hotel.
You don't even want to walk against the light.
Here's Claudell Washington, 1 for 3. Ball 1. But when you think about it, really, if you have to lose, 15-2 in some respects is a lot easier to take than 3-2, where you go home smarting all night about a tough play that went against you.
There's no key play here. I mean, you just got your brains handed to you. They pounded you. You know, the cliche said 50 you're going to win regardless, 50 you're going to lose regardless. It's the other 50 to count. This is one you're going to lose.
1-1, now a strike, 1-2. 15-2. And for the Braves, they were blown out of the water in the first inning when Darryl Strawberry hit a grand slam home run, and it's been all downhill ever since. Fouled away.
That's why it knocks me out when you come to the end of the season, Vin, and they say, well, one team wins and the other team loses, and you go into a playoff, they say, oh, they backed in. You can't do it over 162 games, because tomorrow it could be reversed. I mean, the Atlanta Braves can come out and pound the Mets 15-2.
You know, as we look at Eddie Haas, an interesting point. Only 2 people win and 2 people lose in baseball, even though it is a team game. What I mean is, the guy who loses is the pitcher because that's his record.
Yeah.
And the guy who also loses is the manager because that's the team record. The rest of them, it's one of those days. And the same with the W's. The fellow who wins is the pitcher and the manager. Period. And all Haas, who's a veteran baseball man, he's seen it all, just sit there and take it. Ground ball to the hole, base hit into left field for Claudell. Thompson stops at second, so 2 on with 1 out in the 8th, 15-2 Mets. We'd like to welcome all the folks who are watching the Pirates San Diego game. The Padres beat Pittsburgh 4-2, and look what you haven't inherited. We are not going to give you a recap. I don't think we'd have quite enough time, but we'll tell you this. Strawberry hit a grand slam in the first inning. And Strawberry, Heap, and Johnson, the numbers 5, 6, and 7 hitters, are 7 for 13 with 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 7 runs scored. Strawberry has driven in 7. That's the kind of a day it's been in New York.
If you give a recap of this game, I could just hear you. The Tonight Show will not be seen in its entirety because...
We're here in the 8th with 1 out. We've had singles by Thompson and Washington. Hubbard, who homered in the 4th inning, is the hitter. Dwight Gooden went an easy 6, and they lifted him. He was leading 14-1, and they figured that's enough. 2-0. That's in there. Doug Sisk is finishing up for Gooden. For the Braves, the pitchers who have been lathered, Bedrosian gave up a half a dozen, and then Lem Barker came in and gave up 5 more, and then Dedman, Couple, and Garber. 2-1. High drive into right center. Strawberry, with that ball hit over his head, is going to have to play it after it touches the wall. Thompson will score on a double by Hubbard that sends Washington to third. It's Mets 15, Braves 3, and they're booing Doug Sisk.
These fans don't want to run one-run game.
Braves pitcher, Gene.
So that's 3 hits allowed in the inning by Sisk. He's allowed 4 hits and 2 runs since he's been in there.
His job is to throw strikes, and he's not about to walk anybody. And when you're laying that ball in there, they're going to swing and knock it somewhere, and sometimes right at him.
Gene Garber, the hitter, with runners at second and third in the 8th inning. 15-3 New York. That's a strike. One to Garber with Paul Runge on deck. When I hear crowd boo, I always think of that great theater story of the very bad Shakespearean actor. And they started to boo him. He was so bad, and he stopped the show, and he walked to the edge of the stage, and he said, "Don't boo me. I didn't write this junk." 1-1. That's a strike. 1-2.
Well, I think if we were on the ball, we'd have a designated hitter poll right now, because if the designated hitter was in the National League, we'd have one up there.
No one would answer the phone. Not today. 1-2 to Gene Garber. Fouled away. The Mets averaging a little more than 34,000 a game. What is interesting is to look at the paid attendance here when Gooden pitches and when he doesn't. Ground ball back of first. Pashorek makes the play, then goes to the plate. Not in time. Would that have been embarrassing? Washington just got in.
He broke a bit late. Pashorek was going to concede the run, stepped on the bag, and then saw he had a chance to get him, and he gave it to Hurdle. Now he's giving the run right here, and then he fires it in it. A little bit closer. I'm telling you, if Hurdle has got that plate blocked on that side, he seemed to have the ball in plenty of time. Let's see. He's got the ball. Good slide by Washington may have done it.
Could you imagine being tagged out in the 8th inning with the score 15-3 against you? Luckily, Claudel got in there to make it 15-4. Gene Garber gets an RBI as Claudel might think of the narrow escape sitting next to Glenn Hubbard. Let's get back to that attendance. When Dwight Good doesn't pitch, the average here, 32,000. When he pitches, 40,000. That's the average. Today's paid with Gooden pitching 35,650, but you're talking almost 8,000 difference. And I'm sure somewhere there is an agent with pencil and piece of paper working on that right now.
Go to the bank with that.
Well, Runge draws the walk. And the batter will be Terry Harper. If you just follow that figure a little bit, the difference of around 8,000 a game. Then you figure out how much does the average fan spend in the ballpark, counting parking, hot dogs, etc., plus ticket. And it probably works out to close to $10 a person. Suddenly you realize you're talking a lot of money. You're talking well over $500,000. Terry Harper flied to right and twice grounded to short. Up there with runners at first and third. Big chopper foul. 15 runs, 16 hits, and no errors for the Mets. 4 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Braves. This Saturday late afternoon drama from Shea Stadium in New York.
Drama?
Yeah, there's a lot of drama out there. Hit to Santana. Boy, he's been busy. Gets the force the short way, and that's that in the 8th inning. 7 assists for Rafael Santana. The end of 7.5. 15-4, New York. Strawberry has been the towering figure arising out of this pile of ashes. It is 15-4 New York in the 8th inning. Howard Johnson will start it off. And this week's NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game is Darryl Strawberry. A one-hopper right under the backhanded attempt at Chambliss. He slowed it down. Johnson's going to go for 2. Washington's throw in. He's in there. The Light Beer from Miller happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Darryl Strawberry to help fight multiple sclerosis. 2 home runs, including a grand slam, 7 runs batted in, and for good measure, a triple. Scored 3, knocked in 7. That'll be a double for Howard Johnson.
And you have to give him all the credit because he picked up the ball immediately, and he never hesitated when he got to first base. Bill Robinson, the first base coach, was waving him on. But you could see that he was going all the way from the time he hit it.
No, he's had quite a day. He's buried by Strawberry, but Howard Johnson has had a walk, a single, a double, a 2-run home run, made a dazzling play at third, and the parlance of the racetrack never got a call. Santana 1 for 4, hits it to left. Harper coming up to make the catch. Can't quite double up Johnson. So 1 away in the 8th. Leading 15-4, the Mets fans are going to still get on Doug Sisk, which is kind of sad. Jesse Orozco down in the bullpen. Of course, the thinking fans applaud. Ball 1. 15-4 New York in the bottom of the 8th inning. Chambliss, Benedict, and Zuvella due up in the 9th inning for Atlanta. One and 1.
Can't believe that. The booing.
If you know, if you could analyze it, you'd say to the fan, look, if you're a Mets fan and you'd like to help, then you would cheer a guy who's struggling. Why would you boo him? But of course, the old story, hey, I paid my way in, I'll whistle Dixie if I want to.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
That kind of logic, as we look at Orozco in the bullpen, that kind of logic never did buy. You know, I pay my ticket, I have a right to do whatever I want to do. I like to go down to his office and hang over his shoulder and boo him when he makes a mistake.
The great story about booing ball players or getting on ball players was once told by Chuck Connors, you know, the rifleman. Slow roll to short. The play has to go to first. And Johnson advances to third. Connors was playing in the minor leagues. I think he was playing for Mobile. And there was a fan, a leather-lung fan, in the first base box, and he just ate Connors up all day. Chuck was playing first base. That night, Chuck and his roomie went to the movies. They came out of the movies and they wanted to go to the neighborhood drugstore and get an ice cream soda. And they went to the drugstore, and who is making the ice cream sodas but the guy who's been on Chuck all day? And there's a whole gang of people. They've been to the theater and all that. And Connors begins to get on the gang making the ice cream sodas. Come on, put more chocolate in. Speed it up. Don't you have more vanilla? What kind of a scoop is that? You know.
Yeah.
And the guy looked and realized who it was. And he went over to him and said, Mr. Connors, I promise I will never get on another ball player as long as I live. The one time in a million where the player got on the fan. Found a way. Talking about having a pretty good day, here's a case in point. Len Dykstra. A walk and a stolen base, plus a couple of singles. He has driven in a run and scored 3. Wally Backman on deck. Bottom of the 8th, 15-4 New York. Boy, what the Mets are doing to the Braves, of course, it's knocked out a kilter with the 15 today. But they are killing them during the year. Check swing slicer down the left field line. Wouldn't you know, it's a base hit. Barehanded by Harper. The run comes in to make it 16-4 in favor of New York. Harper making a fine play.
I tell you, we talked about Dykstra on another base hit where he's got like a baton in his hand, and he just flicks it out that way. Harper barehands it, gets it back in play, two-base hit. I tell you, if you're wearing a Mets uniform, you're having a pretty good day.
And how? So it's a single for Len Dykstra to drive in the run. It is 16-4.
I guess you could boo me. I said a double.
Oh, that's all right. I won't boo you.
I'll boo you.
Why? It's okay. I could use it. 1-0. And that's going to be hit to center. Playing shallow is Thompson to make the catch. And there it is, the last out in the inning, but not before the Mets have added a little more icing. It is 16-4 New York at the end of 8. 4 in favor of the Mets. The Mets will have beaten Atlanta 9 of 11 this year. And in those 11 games, they will have scored 64 runs, almost 6 runs a game against the Braves. Boy, have they done a number on them. Strike to Chris Chambliss. Chris twice flied to center, single to left, 1 for 3. And Doug Sisk trying to finish him off. 0-2. The Mets have hit 5 home runs today, 2 by Strawberry, one of them a grand slam. Danny Heap, Clint Hurdle. Hurdle's home run came in the 7th inning. And Howard Johnson hit one in the 3rd inning. That's the first time the Mets have had 5 home runs in a game since 1970, the year following the impossible dream. 2-2 to Chris Chambliss. A drive into left center field on the dead run as Len Dykstra makes the play. 1 down. Friends, the Major League Baseball game of the week has been brought to you by Ford, who invites you to drive the new Ford Escort. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Century 21 Real Estate Organization. By Miller Beer. Miller, made the American way since 1855. And by Quaker State Motor Oil, now in new easy-to-pour and easy-to-reseal plastic bottles. Bruce Benedict, been a long day for him. Handling 4 pitchers and watching 18 hits and 16 runs pour over the plate against him. He's 0 for 3 with the bat. 2-0. Final scores to bring you up to date. Oakland 5, Toronto 1, Kansas City 7, Baltimore 5. California beat Boston 5-3. Chicago leading the Giants 2-1 in the 8th inning. And San Diego polished off Pittsburgh 4-2. And there's ball 4 to Benedict. So when this one is over,
Shortstop.
the Mets will be technically a game behind the Cardinals, and the Cardinals play the Dodgers tonight at Dodger Stadium with John Tudor against Fernando Valenzuela. The executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer for NBC Baseball, Harry Coyle. The telecast of today's game of the week, produced by George Finkel, directed by Andy Rosenberg. Pregame produced by Les Dennis. Pregame directed by Mary Buda Lamusio. Technical directors Lenny Stucker and Bruce Shapiro. Zubella grounded to short in 3rd and struck out. While Dwight Gooden pitched 6 innings, he struck out 4. He was just trying to throw strikes. When Gooden left, he left leading 14-1. Doug Sisk then picked up. Doug has got to get in some work and at the same time get the game over. Little fly ball to right field, and Strawberry is there. So we have 2 down in the 9th inning in a game that really has not been in doubt since the 1st inning when Strawberry hit the grand slam. The Mets scored 4 in the 1st, 2 in the 3rd, 5 in the 4th inning. Then they added 1 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th. So the Mets failed to score only in the 2nd inning, and they had 2 base hits and a line drive out in that inning. Ball 1. Thompson had the infield single in the 8th inning, bouncing one over Howard Johnson's head. Benedict at first. Needless to say, they're not holding him on. Benedict doesn't run. And, of course, with 2 out in the 9th, the Braves down by 12. Big chopper that should go through. It does. Benedict will stop at second. So Milt Thompson making the most of a late appearance in the game. He's 2 for 2. 5 hits allowed by Doug Sisk. And with 2 on and 2 out, Claudell Washington coming up. It was Washington who just did score on the ground ball to Pashorek in the 8th inning. So Doug Sisk trying to get the last out and call it a game. Washington, 2 singles and 4 trips. He has a stolen base and scored a run. One and 0. Ball 2. And no strikes. In there. 2 and 1. Eddie Haas, unflappable. In there again. 2 and 2. When you take a picture of a manager whose team is losing 16-4, unflappable is about as good a label as I can think of. Unflappable. Inscrutable. Got him, and it is over.
The final score, Mets 16, Atlanta 4.
So Doug Sisk strikes out Claudell Washington. The total 16 runs on 18 hits for the Mets, including 5 home runs.
Hello there, everybody. This is Mel Allen.